Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Today I'd like to go over my experience returning back to Hearthstone after years of not playing the game. Now I've been playing Hearthstone on and off ever since it came out, and throughout the years I decided to return a couple of times, but I gave up on the game like a couple of years ago, and now I decided to come back one more time because my friends convinced me to do so, and oh boy was I shocked when I saw some of the changes. The first thing I want to go over is the current Hearthstone meta in the game, and one thing that I personally enjoyed playing a lot in the past was priest control decks, and I tried to build one immediately when I got back into the game, and yeah, I just realized that this is not possible because every good deck now is aggro deck. There's like one good warrior control deck and that's it pretty much, but I still wanted to play my favorite class despite that, and I tried to build a deck, and I realized that there are some very weird decks in the game currently for priest. There are basically some extremely aggro decks that just cheat out big monsters on the field, which is pure aggro and not usually what priest is supposed to do. And there's also a very annoying OTK deck called bandage priest with the main goal to get a bunch of bandages and then summon this guy and attack face using them, winning the game, which is very annoying. It doesn't feel very fun and interactive. It's more so just you OTKing without your opponent being able to do much against that, which is of course not very healthy way to play the game. But what I also realized is that there are a lot of decks that kind of do a similar thing, and the whole meta is just really weird. Doesn't feel very exciting to play with. It's not very interactive in a lot of ways, and it's not just priest. There are also other decks that are kind of annoying to play against or with. For example, Murloc Paladin is a thing now, and this is, by the way, the only good quest in the game because the latest expansion released a bunch of quests and every quest basically sucks outside of the Murloc quest, so they had to buff all of them, which just happened recently, and they're still bad and no one really cares about them, which is a little sad because it's the new expansion and all that. But yeah, basically the best deck from the set is the Murloc Paladin quest, and it's just so much better than all of the other quests. It's just baffling how they didn't figure out it's gonna be way too OP for this particular set. And also Blizzard seems to be very disconnected with the whole community because no one was happy about this thing, and what happened was Blizzard literally tweeted something about Murlocs being so fun and cool to play when everybody was cheating on the deck, which is just hilarious and also shows that Blizzard really doesn't care about the community much. It definitely didn't give me a good impression about the game currently. But yeah, the whole meta in standard just doesn't feel very exciting because there's mainly just aggro decks, nothing else really works that well. And also when it comes down to wild, and I personally really enjoy playing wild because I like playing Raza priest and just a bunch of priest decks, because there used to be a lot of cool control style priest decks, and that was the only way for me to experience that feeling again. So I decided to hop in, and what ended up happening is I got squashed against some of the most disgusting decks. For example, there is a discard Warwalk currently that is just insanely broken. It wins on like turn 5-6. It's just so unfun to play against, and it's just super unbalanced. Blizzard knows that, and they're still not gonna nerf it even though it's disgusting. And it also has 77% win rate, or close to like 70% at the very least, which is just not normal, you know. It's just a little too much. And also what I came to realize as well after a friend of mine told me so, and the more games I play in wild, is that Blizzard doesn't really care about wild because there are so many disgusting decks there that just win during the first couple of turns and you can't really do much against them. There's just a bunch of OTK decks and aggro decks. You can cheat a bunch of things. It's just very unfun and no one takes care of the balancing right there. So I wouldn't suggest you play wild even if you hop into the game again. And if you really think about it, the current state of Hearthstone in terms of the gameplay itself is just very annoying and not really fun because the main decks in standard are just aggro decks or pass decks. The latest expansion really isn't as popular except for Murloc Paladin, while wild is just disgusting to play. I wouldn't suggest you play wild because wild is just wild and no one cares about it, and they just let things go there and people do whatever they want, and Blizzard don't really take care of the mode in general, so that's also not very fun. Now also another thing that gave me a really bad impression was the Hearthstone arena. I am someone who really enjoys draft modes, and I feel like this is one of the worst changes they've made so far. So basically the draft mode is somewhat the same with some differences where you get guaranteed legendaries, and this is actually very disgusting because oftentimes you can get an absolutely absurd legendary that can instantly win you the game, which feels very sad because you can get like quests and stuff, and it's disgusting. There were many games that I lost just because someone got luckier with their legendary, which doesn't feel good at all. And another thing that I didn't like about the arena were the rewards. The rewards are absolutely disgusting. The only good rewards are when you reach 12 wins, which is the maximum amount, and it's ridiculously difficult to get to there. And the main theme now is the fact that you get a bunch of tower tickets back, which is essentially giving you the access to enter again the arena, basically play over and over again, right? And you get your money back on 7 wins. If you get 7 wins, you're gonna get 2 tickets, which means you can re-enter, and then you get either a pack or just 100 gold or something like that. And there's also a chance to get 1,000 gold, which is very small chance as you can see. And the higher wins you get, the majority of the rewards increase are gonna be just 1% more, or also like an extra ticket or extra gold or an extra pack, something that really isn't very original. And it feels as though they don't really care about you getting good rewards, because the only rewards you can get primarily are just things that you can farm out in the game, right? Either tickets that you can buy with gold or just farm, or packs that you can just buy from the shop, or just gold that you can, you know, farm again. And yeah, technically if you get more wins, you get more stuff, so it makes sense to play arena, right? It just doesn't feel very enjoyable to play arena because it's so RNG related, and people can definitely squash you if they get just lucky with the legendary, as I said. So yeah, that doesn't feel very good. The majority of times I won anywhere between 2 to 6 games, and there were times in which I got 8 wins and 9 wins, and it felt really nice. But the problem is you only get like a couple of packs, a little bit of gold, and tavern tickets. That's it. The only good rewards are when you hit 12 wins, which is just a little annoying in my opinion. I know a lot of people in the community are not happy about these rewards, and I hope Blizzard changes it, because it feels like you're just gambling for a big pot of gold and that's it. And I hope they fix some of the cards that you're able to get here, because there are cards that are absolutely busted and people get them and win the game because of that. And also my final bad impression about the game, and that is actually the biggest one, is the fact that there is a new gacha system here to get a pet. Yes, there are pets now in the game, and this is what it kind of looks like. Wait until it loads. Okay, that's it. And yeah, you get one free pull, which I've already done, and the goal here is to just gamble until you get the pet, and I think it's guaranteed at about $160 equivalent of pulls, which is first of all very disgusting, right? Because they introduce a new thing, and the first time you're able to get it, you need to get lucky or just spend money to get it this way, basically encouraging gambling for their new feature, which is disgusting, right? And the other rewards are also nice, but the main idea is to get the pet, right? So you're gonna continue spending money until you get it. There's actually a friend of mine who got it from the first pull. That was very funny, but the majority of people end up spending between $100 to $160 or something. To be honest, this is in typical Blizzard fashion. They primarily care about the money, so I'm not surprised about it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really enjoy my time playing Hearthstone as much as I used to, unfortunately. Even though I tried a bunch of cool things, there was also an imbue priest deck that I tried. It ended up being a complete disaster. Don't try this, by the way, it's disgustingly bad. I also tried out a bunch of cool things in Wild and Standard. I played a lot of Highlander decks because I wanted to kind of have fun playing some control decks in Wild. I also tried out one disgusting druid deck, which just goes for this girl right here during like turn 4 or 5, and you just spam a bunch of spells and win the game, which is just disgusting. As of Standard, the main deck I played to get wins was Imbue Druid. Even though it's not that great, it's the only deck that I found somewhat fun to play with, but it's not very exciting because it's also an aggro deck. From the new expansion, I did try out the Quest Shaman because I got this really cool looking card and it felt really nice to build this deck, but it's actually terrible and you're not gonna win any games with it, unfortunately. Even though they buffed it, I still wouldn't suggest you play it. And even though I really wanted to play a priest deck because it's my favorite class, I ended up just playing pure Dragon Priest, which was not that great and also a little disgusting because the goal is to skip your opponent's turn and win the game this way, which doesn't feel very enjoyable and interactive. The other priest decks are even more disgusting, to be honest, and it feels like the majority of decks in the game are just not very interactive with the opponent or just straight up aggro, boom boom kill. Either option doesn't feel very enjoyable to play with or against. And the final thing I want to talk about is my impression with the Hearthstone community. I feel like a lot of players don't enjoy the current meta at all and they don't really want to play Hearthstone much. Also, there are some content creators who have clear disagreements with Blizzard's way of doing things currently. It feels like they don't really know what they want to do with the game because the past couple of sets were all complete fails or just either too weak or too strong and they have to hotfix things. They're just releasing stuff that it's not really complete as much. And yeah, I mean, ultimately they're either creating too annoying of a state where every deck is just aggro deck, or they're creating too bad of an expansion where no one plays these cards like the current one. That's why they had to hotfix and have a big patch to buff things. And even though they did that, they're still bad. So unfortunately, even though I have some very good memories with the game, I feel like the game is not doing very well at the moment, and I wouldn't suggest you go back to it, at least until they fix some of those problems. So yeah, overall pretty bad experience. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate like, subscribe. Also check out more content in the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.